Good afternoon, each and everyone. My name is Philip, General Manager, Educasa UK Kenya, hosting you this afternoon for the University of Brighton. I will not take much of your time. Without further ado, I just want to thank you for finding time even to join us this afternoon. We really feel honored and appreciate. University of Brighton is a university with such a rich history dating back to the 18th century. And we have a lot from them which they are ready to share with us this afternoon. So without further ado, I'll hand over the session to Peter so that he may share what he has for us. Just a few housekeeping rules. Keep all your mics on mute. In case you have any burning question, kindly put them on the chat box and we will be able to take them at the tail end of the session. I know people will be joining. I'll do the hosting bit of things. I will admit and mute them as necessary. So kindly, Peter, take over the session. Sorry, Peter, you're on mute. Hello, Peter. Sorry, you're on mute.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes, now you're good. Thanks. Please proceed.
Fantastic. And Philip, can you see my screen okay?
I can see your screen. You're good to go.
Fantastic. Thank you. Well, thank you for the introduction and thank you for coming to this session today. My name's Peter. I'm from the University of Brighton and I'm an international manager here. And today I'm going to talk to you about the exciting things that are going on in Brighton and why you may want to come and study with us in the next year or two. So it's a really exciting place to be, Brighton. Many of you may have heard of Brighton. Perhaps you follow Premier League football. You'll have heard of Brighton and Hove Albion, but you may have also heard of Brighton for iconic historic reasons as well. And I'm going to talk a bit more about the university, but I also want to introduce just a couple of our students that are here with us today. So we have Marianne and we have Shini as well, who are here, and they're going to share a bit about their experience of studying in Brighton during the presentation as well. So we're going to talk a bit about where we are, our location, the kind of value and the vision of Brighton, a bit about our research excellence and our hands-on learning as well, and a bit about our campuses and our community too. So you'll find out at the end of the session that there's going to be a little quiz as well. So we're going to ask you to kind of pay attention and then we'll quiz you on what you've learned as well. Just a couple of things to start with. So Brighton is ranked in the top 50 for graduate outcomes. And I know that this is a really important issue for students. When you go to university, you want to know that you're investing your money well and that you're going to be coming out with a good degree and great opportunities for the future. And we know from our student outcomes, our graduate outcomes, that our students tend to perform really well in the workplace and go into some really exciting and innovative jobs as well. One of the great advantages to Brighton is that it's a city that is very close in location to London. So some people even refer to Brighton as London by sea, because we're a coastal city, we're right by the sea, but it's extremely easy for you to get from Brighton to central London in a very short space of time. Brighton is acknowledged as a top 100 worldwide city in the QS Best Student Cities in 2023. So it's very popular with students. We have the University of Brighton here, but we also have the University of Sussex is very near to Brighton as well. So it's a really sort of bustling student city and a place that's very popular with language students as well. So you won't just come and be you won't just come and see students from Brighton. You'll see students that are studying at local language colleges and foundation colleges. So it's a very student-friendly city. It's a very arty place as well. There's a lot of creative technology going on. It's home to the UK's only Green Party MP. So a lot of the identity of Brighton is around sort of being green, being eco-friendly, and you very much get that as you come to Brighton. It's a very different place. It's a very unique place, and people come to Brighton and fall in love with Brighton and stay for many years. So people pick this place because of the lifestyle, as well as it being a great location. As an award-winning beach, when you live here in the summer, you'll notice that lots and lots of tourists come to spend time on the beach, to paddleboard, to swim in the sea, and you know, just to enjoy themselves as well. So I mentioned, obviously, there's lots of students. There's around 14% of the people that live in Brighton are students. So you can see very sort of vibrant student community. And there's a digital sector worth around £1 billion per year to the local economy. So one thing that makes Brighton quite unique as well is the number of small and medium enterprises as well. So there's lots of independent businesses. And if you go down Brighton High Street, you'll see that. It's not just lots of chains that you might have experienced in other towns and cities, but there's lots of independent boutique shops. It's a great place for shopping, great place to experience city life. So the University of Brighton itself, we're situated across 4 different campuses. And by 2024, we expect that all 4 campuses will be in the Brighton area. So at the moment, you can see we have a campus in Eastbourne, but that one is going to be relocating to Brighton. Brighton, as I mentioned earlier, is very close to London. So it takes 50 minutes to get to central London by train, and it takes 30 minutes to get to Gatwick Airport by train. That's the closest international airport to Brighton, and is very well connected in terms of rail links. So we have got a really fantastic history at Brighton University, and our history goes all the way back to 1859, where the Brighton School of Art was established, and they actually were teaching painting in the kitchens of the Royal Pavilion. The Royal Pavilion is a very famous, iconic building. You should definitely have a look on Google and search the Royal Pavilion, which dates back to Victorian times. And that was our origin in the 1850s, where we you know, started teaching. We then became a university in 1992, and that's when a number of universities that were formerly polytechnic universities became fully fledged universities. But in terms of our history before then, there was various things that happened. We were a technical college that opened up in the 1960s, and then we were awarded polytechnic status in the 1970s, became a proper university in the 1990s. And we're celebrating our 30 years we celebrated 30 years in 2022. So lots of great history at the University of Brighton, and you can see that in some of the parts of campus, some of the more traditional parts of campus as well. We have fantastic facilities. So you'll see if you navigate around the University of Brighton website, you'll see some of the great facilities that are used by the students. And perhaps if I can come to our student ambassadors here and maybe just ask you, let me start with Mariam, about some of the facilities that you get to use as part of your course, and whether there are things that you really enjoy using. So Mariam, over to you. What facilities do you like to use on your course?
So I'm a psychology and sociology, and that campus in itself is very lively. I feel like there's a library that is very, like, I live in that library. It's honestly like very, very nice to sit there and work. in the buildings as well. There's different areas that you can, with groups of people, you guys can sit around and work on stuff or have conversations. And there's a cafe. And in regards to my own course, we have a research methods course. So there are a lot of facilities where there's like computer labs and different things that we can use for our own research. So yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. And Xinyi, if I can ask you, so you're studying the illustration program. What about you? Can you tell us a little bit about some of the facilities in the School of Art?
Yeah, so for facilities that's more targeted to art students, I would say I've tried printmaking, different kinds of printmaking in school that's available. I could rent cameras, studios, computers for software like Adobe. And yeah, the studio space is also always open for us to go into work. So I think that's quite a lot of like facilities I could tap on. And adding on to Miriam's point on the library, I also do make use of it quite a lot. The one nearest to us in the center of the city is open to 12 a.m. So I can go in pretty much anytime to work, and they let me borrow up to 99 books. Yeah, so I think that's pretty great.
Fantastic, great, thank you so much. And we'll hear more from our student ambassadors as we go through the presentation. I'm going to talk now about the different campuses that we have. So Xinyi, as she mentioned, is in the School of Art and Design, and they're based on our city campus. So the city campus is essentially right in the heart of Brighton city centre. It's just a couple of minutes walk from the iconic Brighton Pier, and you can get into the city centre in just literally a few moments of walking. And at the city campus, this is our art school. So you have fine art and illustration, graphic design, textiles, fashion, 3D design, craft, fashion, history of art, visual culture, and then also the humanities, historical and cultural studies, and then the media, so film, screen studies, moving image, photography, design for digital media. So that's on our city campus, and we have about 2,500 students who are based there. Our sort of larger campus, Molescombe campus, is home to 7,500 students, and this has been recently transformed. So we had a big build project which was kind of completed in 2022. And you'll see many of the buildings that have been recently opened to give us a very modern campus, but also to enable us to have accommodation guaranteed to first year students, which is great. There's new cafes, new accommodation, some shops and social spaces, and a brand new academic building for our School of Business and Law, which is actually where I'm sat right now. So the Business and Law School has got a fantastic brand new building facility called Elm House, and that's in the bottom picture that you can see on your screen. And also, just to mention, at Molescombe campus is home to our University of Brighton International College, and that's for students that are wanting to come to Brighton, but perhaps their qualifications aren't quite at the right level yet, and they need to have a year of preparation. Perhaps they've just done GCSEs or AS levels and not completed their A levels. There's an option there to come to the University of Brighton International College. I won't read through all of these, but these are some of the subject areas that we teach on the Molescombe campus. So it includes things like architecture, computer science, engineering courses, as well as the business and law programs that I mentioned as well. And then we have our Falmer campus. The Falmer campus is home to around 7,000 students. So still a big chunk of our students are there. And at the moment, we have our education faculty, we have our humanities department, we have the applied social sciences, as well as the Brighton and Sussex Medical School. And they are all based over on the Falmer campus. Now, I mentioned Brighton and Hove Albion Football Club, who are currently flying high in the Premier League. And you can see in the top picture there, is that is the Amex Stadium. So that's Brighton and Hove Albion's football stadium, and it's literally, the campus is in the shadow of the Amex arena. So if you're into football, you can't get probably, I don't know whether this is factually true, but I would imagine that this must be the closest university campus to a Premier League football stadium, would be my guess. I don't think there's any that are any closer than us. And then we have the Eastbourne campus, I mentioned earlier the Eastbourne campus will be relocating, and all those courses will be moving over to the Falmer campus, but that's home to the sports and sports management courses, journalism, and also physiotherapy and podiatry. So they will all be over at Falmer, and that will mean that all of the campuses and all of the students will be located in the sort of Greater Brighton area, or within around sort of 3 miles of each other. Okay, so just a few interesting facts and stats for you. The big one here is 91.6% of our graduates are in employment or further study within 6 months of graduation. So that's a really important thing, because it shows that Brighton graduates are well regarded, employers want to employ Brighton graduates, and we are also a top 50 university in England for graduate outcomes. So this is really important to know. It's also top 15 for graduate outcomes in London and the South East. So amongst some of the top universities there in London and the South East, Brighton rates very, very highly for that. We're the highest climber in the Complete University Guide, so we've gone up 32 places in the 2022 Complete University Guide. And one thing that you notice when you come to Brighton is just how multicultural we are. So we have over 150 different nationalities are represented at the University of Brighton, and we welcome over 3,000 international students to Brighton every year, which contributes to this fantastic international student community. So the big build at Molescombe campus, that's an investment of 300 million, and that's money that's been spent on student accommodation, academic buildings, leisure facilities at the university, and that's really us investing in the student experience. One thing that's great about UK universities is that they are not for profit. They are public institutions, and all the money that universities make, they plough back into the student experience, back into improved research facilities, improved teaching facilities, improved accommodation, and improved campus. So it's not being run by shareholders for profit, it's being run for the benefit of students. So that's the benefit of them being public institutions. We think that the reason our graduate employment rate is so good is because we give our students the opportunity to do work-related learning as part of their course. So that includes work placements, where they get to spend time working in a company, and having this career focus is a real key thing, a real key part of what we do. And we have over 50 accredited and awarding bodies, and you can see some of those listed there on the screen. So yeah, as I mentioned, all full-time undergraduate students have the chance to do work-related learning as part of their course. And we also have placement degrees at postgraduate level as well. So it's all very much about enhancing international employability, and using this employability skills framework to inform our teaching and our courses, and working with external bodies, professional organizations who accredit our programs to ensure that they are fit for purpose, and that our students are coming out with the skills that employers are needing and are looking for in this modern age. This is just some of the companies that we can give as examples of, and some of the accreditations these are the accreditations that some of the Brighton programs have, and some of these may be familiar, some of them maybe not so familiar, but it's important to know that the courses are kind of quality assured. They have the proper accreditation from the, for example, the Institute of Engineering and Technology, accrediting the engineering courses. So just a few more facts. We have over 21,000 students, undergraduate and postgraduate, studying with us at Brighton, over 2,300 staff, and we run over 500 courses. So it's a pretty big operation. It's, as you can see from the slides I've talked through, a very well established university, and lots going on here. You won't just be meeting students who are here studying management. You'll be meeting students that might be studying pharmacy and graphics and fashion and sports. So yeah, really wonderful community. And when you graduate, you'll join a network of 140,000 alumni around the globe. This pie chart, you probably can't see it too clearly, but it gives you a very strong idea of just how diverse the community is. We don't have any nationality groups that are extremely large. So even some of our larger nationality groups, maybe only just over 100 students. So you'll find a very good mix of different nationalities and no one nationality that dominates particularly, which I think is a great thing. It adds to the campus diversity, and you know that you're going to have a good mix of students. So social side of things is really important. You're coming to university primarily to study for a degree, but also to have a good time. And we have over 100 student societies and over 60 sports clubs that our students can be part of. I think now is a good time to maybe for me to pause and stop talking.
Hello, Peter. Hello. Seems we've lost Peter, but then not to worry. I think you're still. Hello, Peter. Can you hear me? Hello, Peter. Can you hear me? Hello, Peter. Can you hear me?
Hi, Philip. Yeah,
yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. Sorry you dropped, but it's okay. Let's proceed. Technology.
My browser crashed, but I hope you can hear me okay. I think what I was just about to do was to come to Mariam and to Shinyi to just say a little bit about maybe some of the social things that you like to do. I don't know if you're a member of any of the clubs and societies, or whether you're involved in any of the sports kind of things. Mariam, what do you like to do at Brighton in your spare time?
Hi, so I'm an international student from Egypt, and I would say to the society's part, I joined the hiking society. I really enjoy it. Like, I love going every week and meeting everyone and just meeting different people, because I feel like sometimes you can get really like into studying, especially right now, since we have assignments and stuff, that you forget to kind of go out and socialize. So I feel like it's a really nice way to, it's just going into town and just like walking around, like especially on Fridays, like everyone is out. It's very, very lively, and it's just a really good energy to have around you. So I would say that's what I do.
Fantastic, great. And Shinyi, how about you? Is there anything that you like to do? Are you a member of any of the clubs or societies?
I did attend some events by the Ecological Society, so a little bit similar to Miriam. Oh, maybe I should also share that I'm an international student from Singapore. So yeah, similar. We are both international students, and the area around Brighton, like we have the beach, and we also have like quite a lot of natural areas on the near the farmer side of the town. So that's quite nice to take a walk around, look at some like little plants and mushrooms. So I did enjoy that in the beginning as well. And I also like to attend music events in town. So there's jazz music rooms, there's also like indie music rooms. It's always, you can always find an event happening. And I go to collage nights as well, so we paste magazines together. So many things you can do in town, and I do enjoy that part of Brighton quite a lot. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's great. Thanks so much. I'll just try and I think I need to reshare my screen, Philip, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello. Peter, can you unmute? Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Okay, good then.
I think I shared my audio by accident and it stopped me from being able to unmute. Okay, and are you able to see my presentation still?
No, now we can't see it. It was there, but then now we can't. Now it's good. On-campus social inclusion. But then unmute yourself. Hello, Peter. Peter, unmute yourself. Unmute. Yeah, you're good now.
Okay.
But we can't hear you.
Okay.
Now
Sorry,
you're good.
I think you can now. Okay, when I switch back to my presentation, I think it muted me. Let me try that again. Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you. It's fine. Please proceed.
Okay, great, thank you. So as our students were saying, there's lots of social activities going on. So it includes student-led societies, but there's also art exhibitions. There's the sports side of things as well. On the Moulscombe campus, we have a new gym facility for students, and we also have a gym facility at the Falmer campus as well. But it's also about religious life as well. We have prayer rooms on campus, and there's faith societies as well. So if you have a faith, then you can practice that. It's a very inclusive environment. So whether you're Christian or whether you have another faith, you can practice that whilst you're at university, which is great. I mentioned some of the support as well. So we have, I think one of the great things about coming to university is that you won't be on your own. And we have a whole support system that's designed to look out for you and to ensure that you're really supported. And I won't go into detail on all of these, but for example, if you were having problems when you were living in your accommodation, we have residential life support. So we have people that are there to support you in your accommodation. You have a personal academic tutor who can help you with any academic problems that you might be having. Perhaps you'd like to be mentored by someone. We have mentoring programs. There's counselling. There's an on-campus doctors as well, so you can access healthcare. There's faith and spirituality support as well, so that could be chaplains from the different faiths, and lots of mental health support as well for students. We know when you come to university that it can be tough and there can be challenges, and we want to ensure that you have this whole network of support that's there for you, to help you make the most of your experience at the university. So just in terms of specific international welfare and support, we have counselling, we have student advice service, we have the international student support team as well, who help with visa and immigration advice. They arrange social events. They can offer financial advice as well to students. And you can see their email addresses on there. And they're a great team, very friendly and supportive to our international students. I don't think this is everything, but this is just some examples of some of the societies there. So we have, just for me to name a few of these, so we have a Christian Union, we have the Mature Student Society, we have the Ecological Society, which I think Shinyi mentioned. We have the Feminist Society, which is fantastic, and the Women in STEM Society. So lots of great clubs. And I think if you see something and you're thinking, I'd like to start a different club, the Students' Union can support you with that too. Okay, so I want to talk a bit about the accommodation. So we have university accommodation at Brighton, which is a real mixture of different types of accommodation, different prices, different price range, some of it brand new, literally probably only one student may have lived there before you, and some of it more traditional, a bit older, and a real mix. So the accommodation web pages are a great place to go to kind of get an idea of the different types of accommodation that we have. Mariam, did you live in university accommodation when you were in your first year?
Hi, yeah, I did. I lived in Barley Park. It's a bit like further off from central Brighton, but I feel like it's a kind of like an environment in itself. And you kind of get really close to the people that you're around. So I really, really enjoyed it, even though like I was a bit far. But I think it was definitely a nice experience.
Brilliant. And how about you, Shinyi? Are you living in university accommodation, or do you live somewhere else?
Yeah, I'm currently staying in Mithras Halls, which is around a 10-minute bus ride from the center of the city. Yeah, it's the new one that was just completed in the last 2 years or so. Yeah, so it's quite...
Okay. That's quite a tall building, isn't it? Which floor are you on?
I stay on the 15th floor.
15th floor.
Yeah.
So do you have a nice view? Do you have a sea view?
If you walk to the end of our hallway, you can see the sea from there. Yeah.
Okay, but not from your bedroom.
No, but I think it's quite the view is not too bad because it's a little bit emptier this part of town, so you get to see a bit more of like the view rather than other buildings. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is nice around here. You can see into the South Downs, which is fantastic, an area of outstanding natural beauty. So that's just some of our accommodation. We have over 1,800 halls rooms across Brighton, and some of the accommodation will be in the city campus, some at Moulscombe, some at Varley Park, which is very close to Moulscombe, and some over at Falmer campus as well. And you can see on the map there where the locations are in relation to Brighton. So Brighton city centre is much closer to the seafront, and then Moulscombe a bit further north from there. The cost of the accommodation, so we guarantee it for first year students, the cost of the accommodation is between £131 and £180 per week. And generally students would take between 39 to 50 week tenancy, shorter for undergraduate students and longer for postgraduate students. And then after the first year, it might be that you live in private accommodation, and we can support you with that process as well, recommending different options for students. That might be that you share a house with some of your friends that you've made. It might be that you look at some of the private accommodation halls. So as well as the university halls that I mentioned, there's a number of different private providers that have university halls around the city as well. But once you arrive, you can have a look into those options for your second year. Now, one of the questions that we always get asked is the kind of cost of living. And we've kind of got this table here to kind of give you an idea of what your typical weekly outgoings are. Marianne, would you say that this is realistic? Would you say that this is kind of a good reflection of what you might be paying? Are you finding that you pay a bit more than this? And you know, do you have any kind of money saving tips for students? I don't know if Marianne maybe has dropped out. How about you, Shinyi? Would you identify with those costs? Would you say it's how are you finding the kind of cost of living in Brighton?
Yeah, I think for a lot of my classmates who stay in the center of town, there's a hall called Phoenix Halls. The rent is pretty accurate for that. Like I think that's around 160-ish for the range. Yeah, I think they do spend around that much. But like actually I'm a mature student, so I opted to stay in like a more comfortable place to pay a bit more. So to balance that out, I do work sometimes for the school and all that. So I'll say my cost of living is a bit higher, but I also do work to pay off that difference. Yeah.
Great, fantastic, thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to move on to talk about some of our alumni. I mentioned earlier we have graduates all over the world, ranging from famous actresses and sports people to broadcasters, award winners, people working for some of the top companies in the world. So you find that the Brighton alumni are very varied, lots of amazing opportunities that have come about because of their what they've chosen to study, and you know, that real focus that we have on skills that are right for industry as well, so that employers look to Brighton students and Brighton graduates as people that are going to fit well in their company, and that's, you know, echoed in that graduate employment rate that we talked about earlier. This is one of our Brighton alumni. So she was a 3D design and craft student, and was able to make a portrait of the Queen, which is you know, an amazing you know, accolade of being asked to do something so wonderful. Okay, so I just talked about cost of living. This is the tuition fees. So these are the tuition fees for 2023-24. And for the exact fees per course, the best thing to do is to go on our website, and you'll see the fees for the course that you might be interested in. But typically, for a classroom-based undergraduate course, it's 14,300. And if it's a lab or studio-based course, it's 15,300. And then for postgraduate students, it starts at 14,300. The way the fee payments work is that students would pay in 3 installments, a £3,000 deposit, and then 2 50% fee installments. So the first required by enrolment, and then the second generally in the second semester. So students that are sponsored or progressing from the Brighton International College wouldn't need to pay a deposit. Just a quick note on the entry requirements. Students that have completed A-levels will typically meet the entry requirements for direct entry. If you have A-levels, then you can apply to enter a degree course directly. And if you have the KCSE, the Kenyan Certificate of Secondary Education, typically you'll be required to study at the Brighton University of Brighton International College on an international foundation year, and that would be that would lead straight into a bachelor's degree. If you have a diploma, if you're a diploma student, we can also consider those, and we can look at those for entry onto second year on a case-by-case basis. And if you're here looking at postgraduate options, we would typically ask for a 2-2 from a recognized Kenyan university. So that's generally our requirements there, but it will vary from course to course. So there may be some courses where the requirements may be slightly higher than those mentioned. If you want to apply, then you can work with your agent, SIUK, to apply for the University of Brighton, and you can submit your application to us, and we are looking for your transcripts, personal statement, references, proof of English language ability, and a copy of your passport. So those will be the documents that you'll need to submit. Another question I always get asked is around scholarships. We have the international scholarships at Brighton, and these are up to £3,500, which is awarded as a fee waiver. So it's money off your tuition fees, and we have varying awards, so from £1,000 up to £3,500. And undergraduate students can apply, but so can postgraduate students apply for the international scholarship. So make a note of that, and you'll see more information on our website about the scholarship. So what I'm going to do now is a very short quiz, because we're at the end of the presentation, but this is just to check how well people have been listening. So I think the best thing here is you can type the answer in the chat. And the first question is, how long does it take to get to London Gatwick Airport from Brighton? Is it 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, or 2 hours? So if you want to type in the chat what you think the correct answer is.
Kindly put the question on the chat. Put your responses on the chat. Do I have any?
Yes.
Can you put your mics on mute? Can you put all your mics on mute? Use the chat facility.
So the correct answer to this question is 30 minutes. It takes 30 minutes to get from Brighton to London Gatwick Airport.
Yes, I see Cyrus got it right.
Great. Okay, the next question is, how many international students study at the University of Brighton in 2023? So is it 300 students, 1,500 students, 3,000 students, or 5,000 students? Okay, and the answer, just give you a few more seconds. The answer is in fact 3,000 students. So anyone who got that right, well done. Question 3, this checks whether you've been listening about the campuses. So which of these is not a University of Brighton campus? Okay, which one is not a University of Brighton campus? Is it 1, Falmer, 2, Moulsecoombe, 3, Checkland, or 4, City campus? So 1 Falmer, 2 Moulscombe, 3 Checkland, or 4 City Campus. And the correct answer here is Checkland. So the other 3, Falmer and Moulscombe and City Campus, are all part of the University of Brighton. They're all campuses at the University of Brighton. Now then, I think I mentioned this once, but Brighton borders the UK's newest national park. What is it called? Is it Dartmoor, the South Downs, the Apennines, or Snowdonia? I think there's a good clue in the answer here. So the correct answer is in fact the South Downs. So the South Downs are just north of Brighton, and as Mariam mentioned, are really wonderful walking opportunities, hiking opportunities around the South Downs National Park. So I hope if you come to Brighton, you'll get an opportunity to go out and enjoy it, particularly in the summer months. It's really a wonderful place to be. Okay, and Brighton is home to the UK's oldest aquarium, cinema, operating electric railway, or pier. And you may have picked this up from some of the pictures. The answer is that we are home to the UK's oldest pier. Okay, so I'm aware I've talked for about 50 minutes, so I'm going to stop and I'm going to pass back to Phillips, and if there's any questions for Shinyi or Mariam, I'm sure they'd be very happy to answer any.
I'm seeing Kenya has taken most of these questions, but then there's one. Do we have Kenyan students at Brighton?
We do have Kenyan students at Brighton. I have to be honest with you, I don't know the exact numbers that we have. I think it's a smallish number. So I would guess probably around 10 students, something like that. But I'd be speculating a little bit here. About 40 students. Kieran is much more knowledgeable than me. Thank you so much, Kieran. 40 students at the University of Brighton from Kenya.
I would like Shinyi to answer this. Can a student work during the studies? I would like to pursue masters and just weighing options and trying to plan. Shinyi.
Yep. So the first part of the question, I think Kieran, he helped to raise the point in the chat. As an international student on a visa, you can work for 20 hours during the term time. So that works well if you have like maybe work 1 or 2 days a week. Yeah, you can work, but you can't freelance. So nothing like, being your own entrepreneur, nothing like that. But you can do that during the holidays or during summer. Yeah, I think that's fine.
And then there's someone who sent me a question directly about accommodation. If you don't get the on-campus accommodation, does the university organize for someone who wants to stay on campus, off campus? Mariam?
Yeah, there's support, I think, to find off-campus accommodation. Yeah, Mariam, did you want to add anything on that?
Yeah,
I think there's some...
Yeah, I recently got a lot of help from the university about housing. Like, they're very, very attentive. You can literally call them about it. They'll send you a lot of yeah, you can, like, there's so many places around Brighton that are not exactly student accommodations that you can look at.
Then there's a question: how fast does it take international students to settle, being a new destination and maybe the first time to travel? Like, for example, I think I will use case studies of maybe Mariam, because I heard Mariam is an international student from Egypt. Maybe she can tell us about her experience of how she found it. Maybe it was not her first time in the UK, that she can just share. She's dropped off. Hello? Mariam has dropped off. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think maybe she's dropped off for a short.
You can take that one, Shini. How fast does it take for an international student to maybe settle in after finding themselves at Brighton? Is it an easy process, or how was your
Right.
experience?
So when I first came, I signed up for there's an international students orientation. So they picked me up directly from the airport and then got me to my accommodation. And then they had students helping me find my way around town. So that helped me to really settle in relatively quickly in terms of just finding where things are, where's the supermarket, where's the town, where's the buses. Like that was within the first few days, the first week, they were able to help me figure that out. And then in terms of getting used to like living here, the weather, the food, everything, you know, that will take a few months, like give it 1 to 3 months for you to get used to it. Then I think it's good from there. But in terms of figuring out your way, the first week they give you a lot of support for that, and there's people you can talk to. Yeah, so I think that's helpful.
It takes a while to get used to the weather. I've lived in the UK all my life, and I'm still trying to get used to it.
My room's back.
Does that mean you'll never get used to it if you stay in UK for the entire your life? Sorry, Mariam, we noted you dropped off.
Sorry. Yeah, my internet keeps going on and off. I'm so sorry.
No problem. No worries. Do I have another question not answered in the chat? Abigail Modoni is asking, what of those who only completed AS level, yet they still passed but did not complete A level due to unavoidable circumstances?
Generally, if a student wants to come directly onto a bachelor's program, they have to complete their A levels. And if they haven't completed their A levels, it may be that they have to take the international foundation year to get them up to the right level. So really, it's a case of sort of meeting that sort of minimum requirement, which would be A level or equivalent, to enter into a bachelor's degree program. In most UK universities, that would be the case.
Then I will ask, what are the minimum requirements in pursuit of a master's program, and are there scholarships available? I think you said you require 2-2 depending on the course. Do you have scholarships available for master's students? But then I think they can still go check on the website. We have all the information. Then I have another interesting question here from Cyrus. Can we hear something on recreational facilities at Brighton? And what do students do during their free time? Yeah,
so I suppose the things that you might mention here would be some of the gym facilities that the students might use. We have a nice new student bar that's recently opened. That's called the Venue at Shinyi. Is it called the Venue?
Yeah, it's called the Venue. It's just right downstairs if you stay at first.
Yeah, I tried to watch some of the World Cup in there, but then I got called into a meeting, so I had to miss the England game, which I was a bit sad about. But yeah, lots going on, absolutely. I think what you find is there's, you know, wherever you are on campus, there's social facilities, there's coffee shops and places to eat and bars and whatnot. And I mean, certainly, you know, Brighton is a pretty vibrant city. So one thing I found here is that just the variety of restaurants is fantastic. It's extremely international. So kind of if you want to get some African food, then that's easy to do. If you want to get some Indian food, if you want to get some Chinese food, there's some really fantastic restaurants in Brighton. It's a bit of a kind of a foodie place. So rest assured, there's some really great options, and international supermarket, that sort of thing as well. So yeah.
Do I have any other pending question that answered the Oxford program? There's someone who's asking, are master students entitled to? You want to comment on that, Peter?
Can you say that again? I missed that.
2-year post-study work visa for master students.
Yes, so if you complete your degree and it's more than a year, so if you've done a year of study or longer, then you're entitled to apply for the graduate route visa, which allows you to stay and work in the UK for 2 years post-graduation. And after that point, you would need to be sponsored if you wanted to remain. So you'd have to find a company to sponsor you after those 2 years. But certainly you can stay for at least 2 years and work in the UK after you've graduated.
I think I have no any other question, and time is not on our side. So I will give each and every one of us maybe a minute or so to give us their closing remarks. Then I think I'll bring it to a close.
Fantastic. Well, let me start just by saying thank you very much for everyone who's come today, and thank you to our student ambassadors for being involved in the session and giving us your experience. We really appreciate it, and it's great to hear from people that are actually living the Brighton experience. So thank you very much for that. One thing I'd just like to say is that when you go to university, especially in the UK, it's a big decision and it's a lot of money. So make sure you research very carefully. Make sure you look at the course information in detail. Make sure you check out the university websites in detail and pick the course that's right for you. And our colleagues at SI UK have years of experience of advising students, so they'll be there to help you and support you along the way. So don't be afraid to ask them those difficult questions. We've dropped an email address in the chat for you as well, s.d.morley@brighton.ac.uk. He's got an earache today, so don't email him today. You can email him tomorrow. But thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Then a wonderful appreciation to our 2 students who found time of their busy schedules to just come and join the session. See, you have anything for us this evening?
Maybe I'll just share good luck with applying. It's difficult sometimes to write your statement and all that. Stick through with it. I think I personally found it quite worth it coming here, and I'm enjoying myself so far in my first year. Generally people are quite welcoming here, so don't worry too much, maybe because it's not like as bustling as London, so people are generally pretty nice here to international students as well. So if you're worried about that, don't be. Yeah, so that's as a whole.
Mariam, do you have anything for us?
Yeah, the same thing. Like, I feel like it can be very nerve-wracking going to a different country and a different culture and different environment. But honestly, like, you learn so much and you really grow. And you just have so many new.
Good. Without further ado, I want to thank each and every one of us for joining this session. I want to thank the University of Brighton for bringing us a whole team to really take us through. I believe the discussion has been insightful, and I only look forward to having you come visit us at SI UK, and we'll help you through the application. and take you through every step of it until you find yourself at the University of Brighton. So feel free to contact us. Feel free to follow us on our social media handles. I think I'll be displaying them at the very tail end of the session. And then I just want to wish you a nice evening, even as we bring the session to a close. Thank you so much, everyone, once again. And I look forward to interacting with you as you process your applications to the University of Brighton. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.